Thank you. It's good to be back. I was hoping that this forum would be at a time where I could give you a bunch of good news that what our special session has accomplished, but I think we've only accomplished about 30% of what we have to get done, and we've got 10 days left in this special session. What's unfortunate is that this is my third time to come to you at what is now we consider budget cut season. There's Christmas and Mardi Gras, basketball, and budget cut season. And my colleagues from around the country are calling and concerned. President of the University of Louisville is concerned about their 9% and 4% reduction. I said, Jim, I wish we could be talking about single digits. We don't talk about single digits in Louisiana. We talk about double digits. And in fact, now that the state has figured out that it's out of money and it's about $1 billion short, the state has decided to reach into our universities and take what we have left to pay our faculty and staff for the remaining 3-4 months left. So in other words, our students' tuition is going to fund state government again. And this is a challenge, and it's not a very good place for a public university that tries to compete with the very best and brightest for faculty, staff, and students all over the country. We compete against Ohio State and UCLA in sports, and everybody expects us to win. And for some reason, we're not expected to win, or we're expected to have no resources to compete in the classroom for faculty and staff. So every year about this time, it's our recruiting cycle. It couldn't happen at a worse time. And people have asked what I've been saying to the press about closing down and not having payroll. Am I just bluffing? We don't want to bluff, first of all. We're losing students that might come to us. We're losing students who are currently on our campus talking about other universities. We're losing faculty, of which a faculty member said, I'm leaving for Oregon State. I've had enough of this 2 weeks ago. My daughter's roommate is from Cleveland, Ohio, and her father is pressing her to leave LSU because of this, because she may not be able to get the courses she needs to go to the University of Georgia. I mean, these are the realities. This is the collateral damage of having to talk about this type of thing each and every spring. And do we want to talk about it? No. We've got coaches using it against our recruits in sports, saying, why would you go to LSU? They may not have a summer school. You may not even be eligible by NCAA standards if you go to LSU. This way of thinking is very dangerous. And it's not just at LSU, but it's the future of our state. We've battled through a great recession with the rest of the nation recently, but now we're running out of company to hang around in these circumstances. This year, 39 of 50 states report increasing their state support for their public colleges and universities, while we look at a historic mid-semester reduction at the end of the year of almost 35% that we have to somehow figure out how to adjust to if we don't solve this problem in the next 10 days. So I can't tell you, not only is this unprecedented in Louisiana, this is unprecedented in the history of funding public higher education on the part of every state. So we're going to our public colleges and universities mid-semester, last semester, and saying we need what you have, and you figure out how to make it through graduation. Well, the bottom line is we can't make it through graduation if something's not done. The bottom line is our ag centers that are in every parish of the state can't make payroll in April. Our main campus can't make payroll in May. Our medical schools can't make payroll in May, which we testified to yesterday in Senate Finance. And this is as real as it gets, that we're a state that has not generated the revenues and the resources to keep its expectations as high as it is. And before this cut, I want to just let everybody know where we're starting, because we've gone through 8 years of budget reductions, and we've had 13 budget reductions. The pattern is obvious. And even just as recently as taking the TOPS hit of $28 million before the special session started. But here is the starting point for our flagship university in our state. of 50 flagship universities in our state, or in this country, we rank 46th in what we're able to spend per student. So for those that love efficiencies, that's very efficient. We rank 46th. There are only 4 other flagships that spend less per student. We spend about $13,000 per student, Chapel Hill about 30, Penn State 38. And those are the odds we're up against going into this budget reality, going into this budget discussion. And thank God for our faculty and staff, because we don't rank 46th in what we produce. We rank 34th in retention, 26th in graduation, 27th in starting salaries, 22nd in mid-career earnings. We're punching well above our weight as a university at some of the most efficient figures possible in higher education. All we're asking for is quit cutting our legs out from under us. Reward performance. We'll take on anybody and outperform anybody in the nation. Our starting salaries are better than Ohio State's and Chapel Hill's, but our funding levels are 1/3 of what theirs are. So right now is a critical time, and we need your help to get people to realize that not everybody wants their kids to go to a school that's going to spend less on your son or daughter than anybody else in the country. It's not a real good selling point. And that's the challenge we face as a university. I'd love to be standing in front of you next year talking about a Nobel Prize in gravitational wave, and discovering the gravitational wave and keeping our faculty, that we are losing one of our greatest Antarctic researchers that we wrote about last year, that you published, had researchers go to the Arctic with her. She's now at the University of Florida. And we are losing faculty. We're down 2,000 faculty and staff in the LSU family from where we were in 2008. We've canceled 75 academic programs. And that's where we're starting point, but the starting point for us is that we're 46 in funding per student. And we've never graduated stronger classes. What we're asking is that the state actually choose and start selecting its priorities better. We've given away an awful lot. We've given away so much, and you've seen it in the internal auditor's report. We've given away more than we've collected. Yet we expect LSU, our flagship university, and what we do in medical education to compete with the best and the brightest around the world. So this is actually, it's a simple decision for our state. What do we want to prioritize? We're number 1 in incarceration, and we're among the bottom in what we spend per student. Why don't we prioritize the things that really matter in building an economy? And that's what we're fighting for down the street each and every day. And right now, these decisions have to be made because we are losing people. We're losing them. The collateral damage is everywhere. And for us to go in front of you and say that football will be damaged by this, and I know a bunch of people said, well, that's not going to happen. Yeah, it will happen. If we don't have summer school, we'll have only half of our football team eligible. It's not us saying that, it's the NCAA telling us that student athletes have to be eligible to play. That yes, classes and sports go together. They're student athletes. And you can't have one without the other. So all of this matters. The domino effect of all this has already started. And so I'm sorry that I'm back to you again at this time of year, which could not be a worse time of year for us to be dealing with this type of budget crisis. But we need your help and the help of our legislative leaders and the governor's office to solve this problem, to provide solutions so that we can invest in the next generation of students who will build this economy. And we just hope they're going to build our economy and not somebody else's, because they're going to build somebody's economy. But if my daughter's roommate leaves for Athens, Georgia, what's the likelihood of her building the Louisiana economy? It's not going to happen. So we need your help to convey to the public that we need to make the right choices for the future of Louisiana and the future of our students and the future of our children. So thank you all for coming today, and I look forward to all your questions.
This is something that we hate to be telling people about because we're just telling the truth of where we're going if we don't solve this state budgetary problem. And that budgetary problem means that we're going to lose students, we're going to lose in-state students, we're going to lose out-of-state students, we're going to lose faculty. Faculty aren't going to come here, staff, they're going to leave, they're talking about leaving, looking for other positions. We got to get out of this mode that we're constantly talking about how we're playing prevent defense, and try to figure out how we can get on the offensive and start scoring some points as a university in a national scale. And right now, we are once again talking about what's going to happen if we file for exigency. How do we make payroll by the end of the year once you have your funds swept up by the state because there's a huge cash flow problem on the part of the state? We hate to be in this situation, and we hate to be talking about the things that I spoke about today.
You mentioned your daughter who's a student at LSU. Tell us about that.
I got a daughter who's a sophomore at LSU, and the other day her roommate's father, I got word that he was trying to talk her in because of these recurring budget problems that maybe you should go to the University of Georgia and relocate in Georgia because you may not be getting the courses you need. You may have programs canceled that you need. And I couldn't believe I was listening to this in my own house, that one of her best friends is talking about relocating to another flagship university in another state that's not even her own.
What about LSU being able to make payroll this year?
Well, under the worst case scenario that's been laid out, if they don't solve these problems in the next 10 days, every one of our campuses will not be able to make payroll through June. And different times, the Ag Center in April, the Pennington Biomedical Center in April, our medical research centers and universities, all of us will not be able to make payroll through May, which basically means every other university in this state and community college in this state will be facing the same problem.
What about summer school? What kind of implications would that have?
Summer school will have to be re-examined. If we have to close short of the end of this semester, they'll have significant implications on whether we offer 3 terms of summer school, 1 term of summer school, or summer school at all.
And that has an impact on athletics.
That has a tremendous impact on athletics because every one of our student athletes is enrolled in summer school, and where they acquire credits they need, many of the incoming commitments that have been made, they enroll their first classes are summer school classes prior to their first fall season. So it has tremendous implications athletically.
Final days of the legislature, what's your recommendation to be able to get this problem solved?
This is a nonpartisan issue. We've got a major problem that needs to be solved. And whether it's done in a temporary fashion or in a long-term fashion, we're going to work with them and trust their leadership that we all can come up with something so we don't have to talk about these dire consequences beyond March 9th.